What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we got a few minor details to get done on this green truck. What I want to get done is I got a new set of taillights, I got a set of mirrors, I got a new steering wheel, well, a new used steering wheel, and then a used instrument cluster, the full SR5 cluster with tack and everything. So we want to get all that done today. So this is what I picked up, just a OEM replacement set of taillights and mirrors. And then I'll show you the steering wheel and cluster when we get to that point. So let's get this stuff installed. Yeah, these are black. We'll see how they match. They're a little shinier than really the whole theme of the truck, but we'll get them on, see how they look. If I don't like it, I might pull them off and do something with them. But for now, we'll get them on and see what we're looking like. So here's the cluster we got. This is the SR5, obviously, with tack and everything. So I actually got this from one of you guys, Nick Baldwin. Huge shout out to you. Gave it to me for free, so huge thank you to you, Nick. Let's throw this thing in. So what we got to do, being that it is a 3-4 swap, we have to change the tack to make it work. So what we got to do is take a resistor here. These are a 10k ohm quarter watt resistor. So what we got to do is get the tack out of the cluster. So we got to pull the lens off the front, and then on the back there's 3 screws here to pull the tack completely out of the cluster so we can get access to the back where we need to solder in one of these resistors. And then also a very important thing when you're swapping these, the oil pressure gauge. So if you have the standard cluster with just the oil pressure light, you need to switch out your sending unit. So this one is made for a gauge. If you were to hook this dash up with the sending unit made for the light, it would fry your oil pressure gauge right away. As soon as you turn the key on, your oil pressure gauge would be junk. So we got to swap this sending unit in for the gauge to make that work. So first things first, let's get the resistor soldered into the tack. So here's the resistor, and we need to put it between this pin and this pin here. So what we got to do is trim a lot of this wire. We only need just a little bit hanging off of the resistor, and then we can heat up these solder joints here, and we should just be able to stab the resistor in without adding any more solder. And you really want to be careful. You don't want to put too much heat into this board, so just heat it just enough to get that puddle liquid. And then you can put this in, and I might just add a little bit extra solder just to make sure it's solid. So there it is, that's how it should look. There is plenty of room between the back of the tack and the cluster housing itself, so don't worry about getting it extremely close, but make sure it's soldered in and not falling off or anything. And then we can throw the tack back in the cluster. And there's also a little adjustment. You can see that little white Phillips screw head. You can actually adjust the tack there. So I think I'm going to put the tack in the cluster, obviously, so it'll work. And then I'll leave the lens off of it, start the truck up, and make sure the tack is accurate. And if there is adjustments we need to make, you just got to adjust that little screw there, and you can adjust the tack that way. So I think before I throw the tack in, I am going to swap this out just to make sure I don't forget, because I really don't want to burn up that oil pressure gauge. So on this 3.4, it's down, I don't know if we can be able to see it on the camera, it's down there, I guess you might be able to, right in here by the oil filter. You can see oil filter there, right above it to the left. You can see the wire going right to that sensor, so we just got to unthread that one, thread the new one in, and we'll be good. Well guys, we've got a really slight problem. So you see the oil pressure switch there, and then you see the alternator bracket right to the left of it. So that bracket's actually supposed to be spaced out from the block about a 1/2 inch. I just looked at the full runner and it's spaced out. So as of right now, there's not enough room to get that new sending unit in. So I'm gonna get some washers or a little spacer or something to space that alternator bracket out enough to be able to fit that switch in there. Here we go guys, I had to bend up that bracket just a little bit for the alternator to get it to line back up with that spacer, so I put about a 1/2 inch spacer in there and we are clearing just fine. So now let's get this cluster pulled out and get the new one swapped in. Alright guys, see if it works. Well, something's messed up with the tach. It's reading like 3,000 RPM, so we'll take it back out. And not quite sure what it could be, but we'll mess around with it and see what we can figure out with it. Alright guys, I think I found the problem. So I pulled it back out, soldered in a new resistor, still doing the same thing. So at some point it's possible this needle came off, someone pulled the needle off, and it's just held in here with I don't know, just a round little deal that kind of presses into the actual tach. So what I'm gonna do to get this set right is hook up a scanner to the OBD and check the RPM on there, and then while it's running I'll just push this. Say if it's at 1500 RPM, I'll just put the needle right there at 1500. So let's do that and then we should be good for the tach. Alright guys, I got it dialed in, so I'm at 1650 about, and right about 1650 on the tach too, so that was an easy fix. There we go, cluster's all back in and good to go. So let's swap the steering wheel out. So what I picked up at the junkyard, once again, for dirt cheap, is this 3-spoke wheel. And if you guys have any ideas on how to refinish it, let me know. I've never really done it and don't know what I would use. I mean, I don't think paint would really hold up, but If you guys have ever refinished a wheel, let me know what you did and how it turned out. All right, got the wheel off. So the setup for the horn is a little bit different from the 3-spoke to the stock 2-spoke. So this one uses the contact ring and it's got contacts on the steering column, whereas this one has like a clock springs type of deal and this bigger plug-in. So what I think I'm going to try to do is pull this ring off, and it already has it almost looks like you put a screw in here. So this is kind of held in by some tabs, whereas this one doesn't have the tabs. But I think if I get this on this wheel, I can put little tiny screws in to hold it in place. So we'll see if we can get this off, and it just clips right through, and there's a wire that comes out with just a spade connector. So shouldn't be that big of a deal. If we can get that mounted onto there, our horn will work. Well, that should work. We got it screwed in and secured, so all we really got to do is one wire from that peg there to the actual horn, and we should be good. There it is, guys. Got the steering wheel in, and I don't have a horn, so can't test if the horn actually works, but it technically should, so it's all set up the same way as the other steering wheel. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I know this video wasn't super exciting, but there's just all the little things, like in any build, there's all the little things to button up. So I figured I'd bring you guys along with me. And if any of you have ever redone a steering wheel, I really want to get this thing fixed up and looking a lot better. It's kind of worn, but I do like this style steering wheel a lot better. So let me know, drop a comment if you have any ideas on that. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Smash that thumbs up button. We'll see you guys in the next one.